and welcome to episode 11 of A Bit of Everything. I'm Henry H-Bomb Higgins.
And I'm Josh J-Rock Higgins.
And today we will be taking a look at the comic book movies coming out in 2019, excluding Glass because that's already out. But before we get to that,
it's time to pick a winner for the competition.
it is. And if you have a look, we've got them in the hat there. Everyone who got the correct answer to the question, and the correct answer was the upcoming movie, which we will talk about later, is SpiderMan Far From Home. So, all the entries are in there. Give it a quick shugle, Joshua, mix it up. Okay, and if you would like to have the honours of picking a winner from the hat. No peeking, no peeking.
Is that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
The winner is Becky Roberts.
Okay, congratulations Becky Roberts, you are the winner of the competition. We will be in contact with you to get specifics on how to get the prizes to you. Thank you to everyone who entered. Congratulations to Becky for being the winner. And there will be another competition at some point in the future, so keep your eyes peeled for that. However, let's get on with the show. Okay, so we're going to be going through them chronologically from the next big comic book movie out all the way through to the end of the year. And first up, we have Captain Marvel, which is the final non-Avengers movie for Phase 3. It's set in the 90s. You don't really know much about Captain Marvel yourself, do you? You're not really up to speed on it.
Apart from the trailer, that's all I know.
Yeah, the trailer. The trailer was really, really good. Set in 1992, I want to say. I know it's the early 90s, but set in 1992. It stars Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. Samuel L. Jackson is in the movie. He's been digitally de-aged, and judging from the trailer, it looks phenomenal. Clark Gregg is also in there, reprising his role as Agent Coulson. Judging from the brief footage of him in the trailer, it's possibly he's a rookie. He's only just joined S.H.I.E.L.D., but he returns, and it's a little ambiguous at the moment, but it seems like the Skrulls are the villain of the piece, judging by the way the trailer's been laid out. However, there is ambiguity as it relates to the Kree. Whether they are actually the good guys that they're being portrayed to be, or whether they are not the good guys. We'll have to wait and see when the film comes out, but you saw the trailer yourself. What do you think is... What piqued your interest in the trailer?
Well, mainly the... I believe it was the opening scene with the... on the train. Just Captain Marvel walking and actually just instantly noticing there's a Skrull.
Oh, the old lady who's a Skrull, yeah. And she just punches an old lady.
Obviously, nobody knows that. I don't think like anybody knows that there are Skrulls until, well, they might find out later in the film. But
yeah, for those who are not aware, Skrulls are green aliens as opposed to the Kree's blue. However, they are shapeshifters, so generally they can morph the physiology to look like humans, or they can look like other heroes as well. In the comics, there's been a lot of Skrull imposters who were masquerading as Marvel heroes. She-Hulk, the famous one, Captain America has been a Skrull. However, they can't take the powers of the heroes if they have powers, but Super Skrulls can. So there may be, in the movie, the main boss fight, for lack of a better way of putting it, could be a Super Skrull in that regard.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah. The interesting thing with that, though, is that the way the Marvel rights things work, it's quite complicated. Although that should be clearing up now with Disney acquiring 20th Century Fox. But at the moment, Marvel have the right to use the Skrulls, but they don't have the rights to use Super Skrull. So it could be ambiguous how that works. But looking at the movie, obviously set in the 90s, so it predates all of the Iron Mans and everything else, which kind of throws a plot hole in there because in one, I think it was after Thor, definitely after Thor, I can't remember which film it was set. But Nick Fury, they make mention of, we now know we are not alone in the universe. But if this is set before Iron Man and all of that, where Fury's obviously on the move and he knows of the Kree and the Skrulls, but beyond that, he already knew that we weren't alone in the universe. So it'll be interesting to see how they managed to get around that. Because the last time they created them, and it was their own fault, they created a paradox or a plot hole, was when Spider-Man Homecoming came out and they said it was 8 years later, which threw it for a loop because it wasn't, it was 6 years later. So the timeline's a bit messed up, but hopefully they can iron that out. But yeah, Captain Marvel is out on the 8th of March, and that is definitely a movie that we will be going to see.
Yes.
Moving from Marvel to DC, ironically to a character who was originally called Captain Marvel. That's a long story, but it's worth looking into. So pop online and have a look at why Shazam is called Shazam. We have Shazam, which is out on the 5th of April. This, you agree, it looks a lot more light-hearted
than
like the darkness that seems to be pervading into a lot of things. Obviously the Marvel MCU at the moment is dark because of Thanos and everything else. But Shazam looks like it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
First and foremost, it's going to be fun.
Amazing transformation scenes in the trailer.
Yeah, well, we'd seen the first trailer. I'd seen the second trailer. You'd only seen the second trailer just before we shot this. So the transformation scene you're talking about is when he jumps off the roof.
Yeah.
And what happens?
Just shout Shazam, then he just flies off.
But it's in mid-air,
yeah,
isn't it? So he's in mid-air when he says it. Not much is really known about the movie. Obviously, it's a kid, Billy Batson, played by Asher Angel, who gets the power of Shazam from Jimon Hounsou, and I apologise if I mispronounced his name, who is Shazam, but gives Billy Batson his powers because Billy Batson is worthy. Zachary Levi, who was Chuck in the Chuck TV show, underrated TV show that. He is the grown-up adult version of Shazam. And then there's Mark Strong, who plays Dr. Sivana, who I would say he's the anti-Shazam, but that's really Black Adam, who hasn't been mentioned for this movie. But Dr. Sivana was someone who was going to be chosen by Shazam to have the power, but then was refused for reasons probably to be shown in the movie. So he goes out of his way to search into magics and everything else to find out, to become basically Shazam without the name.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit in the trailer where you see he's got some like force lightning type thing. But what's your opinion on Shazam?
I agree with you what you said earlier. It does look like a very fun movie. Yeah, that's...
He's a kid. The fact that he's a kid. He's your age, basically, isn't he? He's your age, and his friend is your age. And then there's a little scene at the end of the second trailer. Do you want to tell people about that? When they go to get their lair.
Oh yeah, so it's Shazam actually in his superhero state, sitting with his friend, and they're just talking about getting their secret lair, just saying what they want there.
It's what kids would do.
Overlooking the water. Yeah,
it's what a kid would think.
He has the mind of a kid, but he has all this power.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's exactly what a kid would do with this power. Just save everyone, be like kind of cocky in a way, because like in the scene in the shop, what he said was like, sorry about your window, but you're welcome for not getting robbed.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's what a kid would do. Yeah. It looks like it's going to be, and again, depends how old you are, but you should have seen it anyway, is Tom Hanks' movie Big, where it's a little kid who wishes himself to be big. What happens is he becomes an adult man, but still with the mind of a child. So he's basically a superhero version of Tom Hanks, which is the best kind of superhero. Anyway, that is Shazam, and that is out on the 5th of April. Only a week after Shazam is the rebooted Hellboy. Now, Hellboy, you've seen the first two.
Yeah.
The original two movies of Hellboy, with Ron Perlman in the role he was born for, Guillermo del Toro's vision. Everything just came perfectly with Mike Magnolia's designs and artwork from the comics. Everything just worked. And they all wanted to do a third one, but they could never get every piece in the right place at the right time. So eventually, they were going to make a sequel to The Golden Army with Ron Perlman in the role, but Del Toro not involved. Ron Perlman says, no, I'm only doing it if Del Toro's in there. So they went for a reboot now, and David Harbour is playing the title role. And from the trailer, I will say he looks the part. He's not Ron Perlman, and I think there's a prejudice there. Had he been the first version of Hellboy, I'd have been like, oh yeah, he's perfect. But he's not Ron Perlman as Hellboy, and it just looks better. Ian McShane plays his father, his adopted father, who was played by... who was he played by? The name's gone. But he plays a lot younger version of his father in this movie. It seems to be set in the UK a lot. It seems to be set in London. Big Mo from EastEnders is in it randomly. Mila Jovovich, she's in it. I think she's the main villain of the film, but it's not made clear in the trailer.
No.
I was disappointed with the trailer. Although watching it again, because again we watched this earlier today because you hadn't seen it until today, wasn't as bad the second time around. I didn't enjoy the first one. First time I watched the trailer, because they said it was going to be so different from the Del Toro movies. There wasn't going to be as much focus on comedy. It was going to be R-rated. It was going to be nasty and violent. But watching the trailer, it seems
exactly the same.
Yeah, it seems like the humour is the same. Now, what did you think of it when you watched it? When you first saw Hellboy, first of all, what did you think?
He looks different, but it is really hard to notice. Well, for me at least, because obviously it isn't only face paint. Like for example, with Joker, he has the different Dark Knight. On just like the Batman movies, he obviously has his different actors, and you can tell who plays him.
Yeah. Like
between the original Batman movies and the Suicide Squad Joker, you can tell it's a different person. So
yeah.
But with this, it's like big fist, red, like half cut horns.
Yeah. It looks the part. But at the same token, it's just, again, it's possibly just me, I'm just prejudiced with the Ron Perlman version. It's going to be R-rated as well, which means you can't watch it at this point. The trailer wasn't R-rated, so no need to call child services.
I think the real reason you thought it was more comedy is because the trailer could be shown on YouTube.
Yeah.
When like a 7,
that's true.
So they're
actually,
keeping all the comedy for the trailer.
So
maybe that's all the comedy in the film. Maybe that's the only comedy in the film. They're showing all of it in the trailer.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be all the comedy in the film,
no,
but yeah, I know what you mean.
The rest of it will be really dark.
They're keeping the R-rated stuff away from the trailer. So they're cutting away where possibly in the movie they won't cut away, that kind of thing. That was actually really good insight. I was really impressed by that. So that's Hellboy, 12th of April. All of that, though, pretty much every movie that comes out that we're going to mention here, financially, at the very least, unless a miracle happens, are going to be all second place to Avengers Endgame. Avengers Endgame, as it suggests, it's the end. It's out on the 26th of April. Basically, everybody's in it. You know, the cast list is ridiculous.
We looked on Wikipedia, the size of the Avengers. It's like Avengers, the text was like maybe like a few millimeters.
It was a few screens.
Like the tiny text was like barely anything. But the actual box, it was more. Probably like 2 screens worth of.
Yeah, because we were looking through Wikipedia's 2019 in film, and if you've never been there, what it normally does is it lists the movie with a link to it, like who's in it, date, produced and directed, that kind of thing, studio, and what type of movie it is. And what you'll get is you'll get a little section like that, and it will be the name and then the cast, and the size of the cast will normally determine the size of the box. Average is about that, 2 centimeters. The Avengers one, full screen. It took over the screen. That's how many people are in this movie. And that's to be expected because it's the 22nd movie in the MCU over 10, 11 years. And basically everyone who's been in the movies before who isn't actually dead, and even some of them who are dead, because there's rumours there's time travel in the movie as well, everyone's in it. Absolutely everyone is in it. And it's the end of Phase 3. It's the end of the Infinity Gauntlet storyline that was started in Iron Man 1 the whole way through with the Avengers Initiative and everything else. And we've earned it. And I think I mentioned this when Avengers Infinity War was coming out. And I'm going to say it again now. When I was your age, you just celebrated his 12th birthday. I just celebrated my 42nd, but we won't talk about that. But when I was your age, if someone had told me, when I was your age, it was 1989, Tim Burton's Batman had just came out. And it was great. Before that, really, we didn't have much. We had Christopher Reeve's Superman stuff, and even that dove off a cliff after the second movie, really. Then Tim Burton's Batman came out, but the way the rights worked, everything was kind of kept to itself. So in like certain movies and that, they might allude to another character from a different franchise, but they wouldn't mention another character. They wouldn't overtly say or have that character appear for rights issues. So when Iron Man came out, and Nick Fury appeared in the Avengers Initiative, then we had the Incredible Hulk, that led into Thor, and it was a lineal line of these movies all being interconnected, but then the cast appearing in other movies, leading up to the first Avengers, where they all linked together. Everyone involved, and everyone who's a fan of these movies has earned the right to have a cast list that big in Avengers 4. We've went through 21 movies, this will be the 22nd as I said. We've been with these characters from the beginning, and 12-year-old me can't believe that we have all of these comic book characters in one movie. If you went back and told 12-year-old me that when you're sitting watching these with your 12-year-old son, that everyone will be in each other's movies, I would have laughed. I would have thought, it ain't happening, dude. But here we are. So, the Avengers 4 trailer doesn't really give too much away.
No.
What we do know is that Thanos won. Yeah? Did he win? Is it a victory though? Because Thanos is a very sympathetic villain. Yeah, he's off his head, he's not called the Mad Titan for nothing, but he had an altruistic reason for doing what he did. It was to save everyone else, and with one snap of his fingers 50% of all living creatures in the universe are gone. it's a short-sighted way of looking at it, but he succeeded in what he went out to do. He didn't want to rule the world, he didn't want to rule the universe. He had one goal, he achieved that goal, and now he seemingly has retired on his little farm. Even in the trailer you see his suit of armour on the Scarecrow. Tony Stark is stuck in space, because obviously he was left on Titan with a stab wound. Yeah. And the trailer opens with him recording a video for Pepper Potts on what we believe to be the Milano, which is the Guardian ship. Rocket's on Earth. He's the only Guardian that survived. And the trailer doesn't give much away, and that's fair enough, simply because it will probably explain how people come back if they do, and what's going on. But it's still a very effective trailer. And the Russo brothers, the directors, have said that every trailer that comes out for Avengers 4 between now and release will show nothing beyond the first 20 minutes of the movie, which is fantastic. I'm really happy with that. Another thing I'm really happy about is Ronan appearing in the trailer, which is, in the comics, he's an alter ego of Hawkeye. He's ditched the bow. He's basically become like a samurai, dressed almost like a ninja. And there's two schools of thoughts here. Was it the snap that took his wife and kids, which caused them to be Ronin? Or were they already killed before the snap, which caused them to be Ronin anyway? And he's been doing all this, and then the snap happened. It was just not a coincidence, because it was always going to happen, but it was just concurrently with what he was doing. But what was your thoughts on what you saw in the Avengers 4 trailer?
Well, the first thing I need to say, it definitely does give me different emotions every time I watch it. I kind of felt sad the first time, then I felt excited the second, and it's just gives me different those emotions. Of course, like you said, Thanos has won. He's just walking through the field with his broken Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, the Gauntlet's bust.
And of course, at the very end of the trailer, someone makes an appearance.
Yeah, Ant-Man. Or is it Ant-Man, or is it a Skrull? I think it's Ant-Man, just because. But there's an interesting little thing in the trailer as well, when they're doing the whole... Because if you haven't seen the trailer, and you really should, if you haven't seen the trailer, it's actually playing above us right now. Black Widow is doing some narration about how he won and what Thanos succeeded and such like. And there's a little shot where Mark Ruffalo, Bruce Banner, is looking at like a video wall, and it's showing who has been taken by the snap. So Peter Parker's there, but Scott Lang is on there, and so is Shuri, Black Panther's sister. Now we know Scott Lang was saved from the snap if you watched Ant-Man and the Wasp, because he was in the quantum realm at the time.
Okay.
But we know Wasp, Johnny Van Dyne, and Hank Pym were snapped out of existence. So it's going to be interesting to see A, how he gets out of the quantum realm, and B, if the rumours are true that the quantum realm and the time vortex or time tunnels they mentioned around there play a part in undoing all of this. Because we know it's going to be undone. That was never in doubt even when the snap took place, or even before the snap took place, because it's comic books and that's what happens. The bad guys, they get a win, they don't win overall though. The good guys will find something to do.
They've won the battle, but they haven't won the war.
How that's going to happen, no idea. Captain Marvel's obviously going to be involved somehow, and it's also going to be interesting, which we didn't touch upon, which we should have when we were talking about Captain Marvel, is where is she? Because she was obviously on Earth for Captain Marvel in 1992. Where has she been through all of the MCU stuff? Not so much like in Iron Man 1, because that was quite low-key. Thor was mostly on Asgard, then on Earth, but it was again low-key. Not Loki, but low-key. When the first Avengers, where was she when the first Avengers movie was taking place, when Loki came through with the Tari? That was an attempt to take over the planet. where was she when Ultron was going to destroy the planet? You know, these are cosmic level events that will destroy the entire planet. So why wasn't she brought in then? Why was he only doing it now? Again, part of that could be to do with the Time Stone and Doctor Strange going back in time, speaking to... This is rumour. This isn't fact. This is rumours that have been circulating around that Doctor Strange, when he went back in time, spoke to Nick Fury, told him that this was going to happen, which is why when the snap happened, Fury knew what was going on.
He didn't know it was going to happen to him.
Didn't know it was going to happen to him. That's why the mother happened when he got cut off, because he didn't seem shocked or confused about what was actually going on, which is why he immediately got the pager and paged her. So it's possible that in Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange comes back in time, and he's the one who makes sure she stays away until this point. So that's an interesting theory.
Potentially it could be an after-scenes credit to Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange.
That's true, it could be a number of different things. Because there's not much time between them. Like, say, Captain Marvel's out on 8th of March, Avengers is out on the 26th of April, so there's only, what, a couple of months. And then Spider-Man Far From Home, which we'll get to, is out in July. So there's not much time between these movies. So there's 3 Marvel MCU movies this year. Well, Spider-Man, again, it's a Sony movie, but it's in the MCU, complicated rights issues. But Avengers 4 Endgame is the end of the current long story arc with the Infinity Stones. How it ends, who knows? But that's the end. Spider-Man Far From Home, which we'll get to, is the first film in Phase 4. And that's going to be a whole new thing. But before we get to Spider-Man, there is 2 movies between Avengers 4 Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home, and one of them is X-Men Dark Phoenix, which is the 4th movie from the first class generation, the prequel X-Men movies, which means they've had 4 movies to the standard X-Men only having 3, although they did kind of share Days of Future Past, so they've had 3.5 each, really. Possibly going to be the last of the X-Men movies, simply because the rights thing with Disney and Fox again. When this is finalised, then Disney will have the rights to the X-Men, Fantastic Four and all the characters that Sony had. So there's possibly going to be a way to integrate them into future MCU movies, which would work with Phase 4 being a completely new story. But at the moment, Dark Phoenix seems to be following more closely the comic book story of the Phoenix than X-Men The Last Stand did, which had Phoenix as like a supporting character. He was basically a thug, a weapon for Magneto. You've seen the trailer for this. What was your opinions on that?
I didn't really know what was going on.
It was disjointed, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like, we're here, and like, it doesn't really look like a seamless transitions in a way. Like, it's from this part, like, because usually it's like a talk over the whole time, but it was talking, someone stopped talking, next scene, someone started talking again.
Yeah, it looked like someone...
Apart from, like, from the last 30 seconds, that part was kind of, I understood what was going on there, but it was too, like, it was changing too much. Yeah,
it kind of jumped too choppy, it was disorientating. But the basic story is that something gets the X-Men into space. A cosmic force hits them and it almost kills Jean Grey, but it awakens what was inside her, which is the Dark Phoenix, which was teased at the end of X-Men Apocalypse, where Apocalypse himself saw a mutant more powerful than him. Jessica Chastain is in an unnamed role. They've not said who she is. It looks like she might be an amalgam of a few different characters, including Mastermind. She manipulates Jean Grey, which you saw little bits of in the trailer, to possibly go to darkness, hence the Dark Phoenix. Jean goes against the X-Men, who seem to be having a bit of a civil war amongst themselves. Interestingly as well, Daniel Cudmore's in this, and he plays Colossus in the original X-Men movies, X-Men 1 and X-Men 2 specifically. He's in an unnamed role in this one though, so he's not going to be Colossus, because they've just said he's Colossus, that's who we're expecting him to be. So that could be interesting. I don't think it's going to do that well though, as a movie. I've enjoyed the 3 previous First Class generation movies. First Class was great. Days of Future Past was phenomenal. The Sentinels and all of that thing was fantastic as well. Apocalypse wasn't as bad as people say it was, but wasn't as good as the True Defenders are kind of giving it credit for as well. But I thought Apocalypse was a good villain. I thought he was portrayed well in the limited scope that they had for the movie. But this, I think, has been hurt by the merger with Fox, or not the merger, but Disney taking over the Fox properties. So it's definitely going to be the end of this run of X-Men people. So it is going to be the last turn, I believe, of Michael Fassbender as Magneto, which is sad because he's great in the role. But as Tony Stark said in the Avengers trailer, part of the journey is the end. So I think hopefully it's a fitting end to the X-Men movies. And then it'll be interesting to see what the MCU can do with them. Yeah? Do you agree?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Would you like to see the X-Men woven into the MCU?
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they can do in the films, because see in the comics they do stuff like, and obviously Civil War and Infinity War both had X-Men in them. So it was quite interesting to see them Infinity War without, but now you actually do get to see the movies like with them. Like there are some like similar characters. You know.
It's also how will the MCU do the characters? Because with MCU's help, SpiderMan was captured perfectly. They did an amazing job on Vulture, who's kind of a laughable villain in the comics when he's not captured properly. So when I see how they do with the X-Men and bring them in, would they be closer to their comic book counterparts? I mean, technically they've got Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Well, Quicksilver's dead, but they've got Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the MCU, who are characters predominantly linked with the X-Men. So they have a way in to introduce these characters. The issue with the MCU, unless there's some kind of reality warping going on, is that the X-Men kind of came around in the 60s. They were originally the children of the atom. They come up when the atom bomb and atomic stuff was all the rage. So if they've been around since the 60s, how have they never came out till now? But I'm sure they'll come up with some way. But that's X-Men Dark Phoenix. It's out on the 7th of June 2019. It's set in 1992, incidentally, so it's set around the same time as Captain Marvel. And yeah, I'm not sold on it yet. But we'll see. Hopefully I'll be surprised. Moving on from that, we have Men in Black International, which is the 4th film in the Men in Black series. But it is a reboot of sorts. It's part of the current Men in Black universe. It's not ignoring any of that. That all exists. However, this appears to be the London branch of MIB. Stars Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, who you know more as Thor and Valkyrie from Thor Ragnarok. And it seems that they've been casting this movie basically based on their chemistry in Thor Ragnarok, and going by the trailer, it still appears to be there. Yeah. Liam Neeson's in there, as is Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson's actually reprising her role from previous Men in Black movies. Liam Neeson's in there. And it just seems like it's going to be, it looks from the trailer like a fun return to Men in Black 1 form. Because the Men in Black films were good, but they couldn't capture the magic of the first one. That's out on the 14th of June, so it's a week after X-Men Dark Phoenix. And you saw the trailer, as I did for the first time, just before we came into the studio. What was have you seen the Men in Black movies at all? You have?
Yes.
Did you like them?
Yeah, they were enjoyable.
Okay. What did you think of this trailer?
I do feel like it is going to be on par with the other ones.
You think?
I like the car transforming into weapons.
Oh yeah, that was pretty well done.
He took like the wheel out to make it with the ammo clip.
Yeah, there was some. The Men in Black movies have always kind of had inventive ways of getting things that appear normal to be not normal. So that was really well done.
See, did they realise that like taking? I want you all to look at this, then just woman just takes off and just
just swashes
bing,
everyone.
bing, yeah.
Interestingly, in the trailer though, it didn't really give any hint of who the villain is, did it? It's interesting. I'm assuming there's going to be another trailer that will give us that. I have high hopes for it because there's been movies and TV shows where I've watched simply because the chemistry between the leads and I like the characters, even if the things themselves weren't all that great. Men in Black International is a movie that I think I'm going to enjoy. That's out on the 14th of June, and that leads us nicely into what Becky Roberts knows is Spider-Man Far From Home, which is out on the 5th of July. Now this, Avengers 4, haven't seen enough from obviously the trailer, they're keeping it. We're excited for that anyway, simply because of what it is and what it means. Spider-Man Far From Home is the first movie in Phase 4. Yeah? And they're doing a great job of not letting us know when it's set.
Yeah.
There's some school of thought that it's set before Avengers Infinity War. With the bus ride that they're on in Avengers Infinity War where Spider-Man first joins the fight, being them returning from the school trip that they're on in Spider-Man Far From Home. We don't know about that. Others say it's set immediately after the end of Endgame. But in the trailer, they don't hint to anything like that. There's hints that it could be either or. We're all of the belief that Iron Man, Tony Stark, will die in Endgame. That's what we think is going to happen in there, mainly because he's not contracted for any more movies. And he's been doing this now for 11 years. But watching the Far From Home trailer, Happy Hogan doesn't seem too upset that Tony Stark isn't around anymore. So that's an interesting thing. The biggest bit of ambiguity though is if you've seen the trailer, Peter goes to the passport office to get his passport, because obviously he's going to Europe. He gets the passport, it shows a quick flash of it, and there's no years listed.
No.
So his date of birth would be up here, isn't listed. And the date that because he's obviously getting the passport, so the date on the passport, the day he gets it, and when it expires, has no year either. And that is because it would tell us exactly when it was set. So they have intentionally removed that so we don't know. There's characters in the movie, specifically Sam Jackson returns as Nick Fury, Kobe Smulders returns as Maria Hill. They were both wiped out at the end of with the snap at the end of Infinity War. But they're in the movie, so that's interesting.
So Spider-Man, sir.
Spider-Man, he was, of course, yeah. Spider-Man was wiped out by it as well. There's also a piece in the trailer where when Nick Fury shoots Ned and he falls down, he says, "Finally nice to meet you, Spider-Man." And he says, "You're Nick Fury." Spider-Man says, "You're Nick Fury," which obviously indicates that's the first time they've met each other. If that's the first time they've met each other, and it is set after the Infinity War saga with Infinity War Endgame, means they never meet during those two movies. So that could be interesting as well. Either way, I'd say there's a decent cast in this. There's Tom Holland returning as Spider-Man, Sam Jackson and Kobe Smulders, as we mentioned. Marisa Tomei returns as Aunt May, who's flirting with Jon Favreau's Happy Hogan, much to the dismay of Peter. He wants to know what's going on. And we also have possibly the best reveal of the trailer, Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. You marked out for this, as did I. Mysterio is one of the more visually appealing characters from the comics. He's a bit of a joke in regards to his actual threat to Spider-Man, but when they announced that Jake Gyllenhaal was going to be cast as Mysterio, there was a lot of excitement because he is really good as an actor. He's a fantastic actor. And when he appears in this trailer through the green smoke, that is perfect comic book Mysterio. Yeah? And he's here as a hero to fight what are the elementals, which, going from the trailer, are the villains of the film. And it looks like they're based on the actual characters called the elementals from Marvel Comics, but visually they're based on other actual Spider-Man villains. So one of them looks like Sandman, could be Sandman, one could be Hydro Man, one could be the Molten Man, and then there's a fourth ambiguous one, whereas the elementals can control fire, air, water, and earth. So they all tie in there. Mysterio with the fishbowl was so exciting. I stood up and I fist pumped the air in excitement of seeing him with the fishbowl whooshing into Hydro Man when he said, "You don't want any part of this," and then the trailer kind of cut. What's interesting though is it then cuts to a little stinger at the end of the trailer, which is them looking at news footage of Mysterio, and it shows you how he gets his name, because they're in Italy, and the news uses Mysterio, or they're in Spain, one or the other. But it's Mysterio is mystery, but it's obviously in the native language, hence how he gets his name. And they're all fawning over him and say he's like a cross between Iron Man and Thor. Yeah. What's interesting is, yeah, his costume does evoke memories of both. Yeah. But when he does his chrome green power thing, yes, the emblems come out and look like Doctor Strange. And it's interesting because in the comics, his debut, because the character of Mysterio is Quentin Beck, who is he's a stuntman and a special effects guy. And he was upset that he was doing all the work by being the stuntman, especially creating everything, but the actor playing the hero of the movie gets the credit for it. He wanted the credit for it. So in the comics, he became Mysterio as a hero to take down villains, which included an evil Spider-Man, which was an actor he got to be Spider-Man. He eventually gets foiled, as obviously you would imagine in the comics. So there's a train of thought that Mysterio is actually creating the elementals so that he can swoop in and save them. He's trained them through some form of like special effects, hallucinogenic drugs, sleight of hand, you know, those kind of things. Maybe even actual magic, because we know magic does exist in the MCU through Doctor Strange. But he's creating the elementals, having seen what accolades and adulation Spider-Man is getting, to become a hero like Spider-Man, which is why he's an amalgam of Thor, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man, because those are, excluding Spider-Man himself, those are the ones who've been getting all the adulation. So it's going to be interesting to see if he does actually. He's going to be the villain of the piece. Now, watching the trailer, what was your favourite moments in the trailer?
Favourite moments were, or like scenes was Nick Fury coming, Mysterio coming. Before you see him with that, just when he arrived and says you don't want to be part of this.
Oh, the green smoke thing. It was all
the green smoke
perfect.
thing, and the scene with the fishbowl where he just flies around.
It's the fishbowl's just it's a fishbowl. It seems like such a small thing, but Mysterio has been rumoured and teased in the Spider-Man movies for such a long time. Going back to the Raimi films, where Bruce Campbell played a different character in each one, there was always strong rumours and strong indications that that was Quentin Beck trying to get by, who would eventually become Mysterio. That didn't happen. But this movie looks like it's going to be amazing. Tom Holland's a great Spider-Man. Michael Keaton's in it, again, as Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, although under what capacity we don't know. Everyone else knocked it out of the park. Jake Gyllenhaal's going to knock it out of the park. This is the one movie I think that could steal Avengers 4 thunder, depending on how Avengers 4 finishes, obviously. So Spider-Man Far From Home is definitely one of those movies where I'm like, this is going to be amazing. What about you? What are you more excited of? Are you more excited for Spider-Man, or are you more excited for Avengers?
I think I'm more excited for Spider-Man, more, I guess, confused or like concerned about what's going to happen in Endgame. It's like, how's the ending going to come out? How are they going to get the other people back? Will Doctor Strange travel back in time and get Captain Marvel to come? If so, of course, Captain Marvel will destroy Thanos, but how? Will Thanos do anything more before?
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns, isn't there? A lot of variables.
Will he be able to get tiny fragments of the Infinity Stones and do like a tiny snap which gets rid of like 1%?
Him.
It just gets rid of himself.
Yeah, so again, going back with Shazam, Spider-Man 4 looks like it could be a fun movie.
Yeah.
Less dark. I mean, Spider-Man Homecoming was fun, even though there was some darkness in it. And if they can get a scene that's even half as good as Peter Parker and Adrian Toomes in the car when they go to the prom, because that scene was phenomenal, that alone justified Michael Keaton's casting. It was perfect. And I think this could be, maybe even more than Shazam, this could be the funnest movie of the year. Yeah.
Shazam funniest.
Funniest, yes. Yeah.
Funniest.
They two are definitely ones that are going to fight out for the most light-hearted fun from the comic book movies this year. Dark Phoenix has the potential to be the biggest disappointment. Hellboy, I really need to get over the baggage of the first two movies. That's my personal demon there. Men in Black International, who knows? But they're not the only movies this year. We've got two other movies on the list, plus a couple of honourable mentions. Up next is one that's actually possibly going to be a disaster, is New Mutants. Now, New Mutants was actually filmed in 2017. They finished filming in September of 2017. Was supposed to be out in April 2018, which you saw in the trailer. Again, we did some prep before the show. Well, ran through all the trailers again, didn't we? And the New Mutants is supposed to be, it's like a horror, not overt horror, psychological teen horror almost, take on the X-Men universe. So it's set in the X-Men universe that's been established. It's a spin-off from that. It stars Anna Taylor-Joy, who was in Split and Glass. Yeah, she's the survivor girl from Split. It stars Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones, Alicia Braga, who was in Repo Men and Predators, Antonio Banderas is also in the movie in an unknown role as a villain. What's interesting there is that he's taken over from John Hamm from Mad Men, who was originally cast in a post-credits scene as Mr. Sinister, who was also teased at the end of X-Men Apocalypse, I want to say. I'm sure it was X-Men Apocalypse. It was one of them. They kind of bleed into one, but Mr. Sinister was also teased as well. It's been beset with problems. They did a lot of reshoots last year, and it's due out in August, 2nd of August this year, so that's almost 2 years after it finished filming. That in itself is not a good sign. Although there have been movies where they've been finished for a while and then released, they've been on the shelf for some reason, then they get out. And one of my favourite movies of the last decade, Cabin in the Woods, was one of those movies. Now, I know you haven't seen that because you're too young, but that happened there. But this one, it looks like it's taking an interesting take on horror aspects of what it would be like to have telekinesis, telepathy, or changing like bestial, now physical mutations as well. But I think it's going to disappear. It'll be out, it'll go without a trace, and that'll be it done. Again, possibly due to the Disney Fox situation, where they've taken stuff over. It's not looking good for it, really. But I hope it surprises me. They've got a good cast in it, so acting wise it should be fine. It's just the delay of that long with no real news on it is never good. You don't really have much of an opinion on it at all, do you? You watched the trailer, you were kind of nonplussed about it.
No, I didn't really care.
No, there was nothing that grabbed you at all.
I'm not going to watch it.
No. It might be one of those, if it gets good word of mouth, watch it. But it's definitely, of the movies that we're talking about today, it's definitely lowest on the top.
And of course we watched the actual X-Men movie over this.
Yes. And even now looks disappointing overall.
Mm.
What doesn't look disappointing, segue, what doesn't look disappointing, which is the last movie we're going to talk about in depth, is Joker.
Which we've actually seen around 15 seconds of the actual film.
Well, I haven't actually seen any, really, because I mean, I'll explain in a second. It's out on the 4th of October this year. It is a standalone movie. There's no connection to the DCEU. Stars Joaquin Phoenix as a character called Arthur Fleck, who seems to be like a failing stand-up comedian, entertainer, possibly a clown, who has a descent, career decline, probably mental issues with it that go with it as well. And from what we can see, he becomes the Joker. There are some reports that saying he won't actually be the Joker in the movie, so who knows how that's going to play out. But from the stills that we've released, there's a small trailer set to a little piece of music which is quite creepy, using one of the old techniques of having a pane of glass in front of your actor. You project something onto the pane of glass, which is in a dark room, so all you can see is the image you want to see, and it's him in full clown makeup, like dancing in front of himself, where he gradually smiles into the clown makeup, and then it cuts to him in the clown makeup himself, where he's very smiley until he drops the smile. It's very sinister when he does it, and that was what he's going to be great. Set in 81. Behind the scenes footage that we saw, this is what you were talking to, seems to show that he has a bit of a fall from grace. Other behind the scenes that have been seen seem to show that Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, is being blamed for some kind of economic crisis in Gotham. There's some signs that actually say blame Thomas Wayne. Poor Gotham seem to have it in for him. Along with Joaquin Phoenix, there's also Zazie Beetz is in the movie, possibly a love interest. Robert De Niro is in the movie as a talk show host who hasn't been named yet as character-wise, but he's a talk show host, which could be, now I know you haven't seen this again, you're still a bit young for a lot of the films that are maybe getting referenced here. Well, as you get older, we'll obviously introduce you to more movies as well. But there's a film called The King of Comedy, which stars Robert De Niro as Rupert Pupkin. And he is a stand-up comedian who is abysmal. But he wants to be famous. And he kidnaps a talk show host, and his ransom is to appear on the talk show. That's it. And then that actually sets him up. He becomes famous from that, and suddenly he gets the adulation he wanted. So it's possible that Robert De Niro is casting as a talk show host as a little homage to The King of Comedy. It may even play into it. If Arthur Fleck kidnaps him, it'll be like a nice turnaround. So that could be interesting. Apart from that, though, there's virtually nothing known about this movie. It's a Joker origin story. That's what we know. It's a character named Arthur Fleck, who, for all intents and purposes, watching this, becomes the Joker. And that's it. That's as much as we know. But Joaquin Phoenix is possibly the best actor of his generation, and that's saying something because there's a lot of great actors in his age group. But Joaquin Phoenix is just phenomenal. Pretty much everything he does, and they're selling this movie on him, and they have sold it to me. You've only seen some very brief footage of it. What's your opinion? Because again, what's your exposure to the Joker? Ignoring this movie for a second, what's your history of the Joker? What versions of the Joker do you know?
I know, like I mentioned earlier, I know the main Dark Knight Arkham type ones.
Yeah, so Heath Ledger Joker from the Dark Knight.
Yeah, there's
and Mark Hamill's in the Arkham games.
The Suicide Squad Joker.
Yeah.
And a brief look at the classic one you showed me the film once.
Oh, the 1989 one, the Tim Burton, yeah.
Yeah.
And the one thing you spoke about was that each one of these Jokers are vastly different to the other. He's possibly the most versatile character in regards to how you can portray him, different ways of approaching him, different severities of like being psychotic in the sense of like killing machine. There's so many different interpretations of him. This one we don't know. What's your opinion? First impressions. What's your first impression?
Confusion. I've literally seen that behind the scenes and a 15-second video of him smiling.
What was your take the behind the scenes stuff away? Just that 15 seconds. What was your first impressions of that? What did you take from that?
Well, the second he just stopped smiling, I knew this is going to be a good film. This is going to be a good Joker backstory type thing.
Yeah. Are you excited for it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
One of the best DC villains to do a standalone.
And there's people going on, well, he doesn't have an origin story.
Everyone does.
Well, he must have one. It's never been established as canon, but he must have had one. He's a human, as far as we know. He's a human, so he must have been born, he must have been a child. Something must have happened to cause him to snap in this way. When people say, oh, he doesn't have an origin story, it didn't harm the Tim Burton Batman movie that you mentioned earlier, the 1989 with Jack Nicholson. He had an origin story then, and he was a great Joker. The Dark Knight didn't have an origin story, but obviously something happened to him, so he does have an origin, we just weren't told it, that's all. In The Killing Joke, which is one of the seminal comic books from Alan Moore, he relays his own origin story there as well, which sounds quite similar to the Arthur Fleck one, where he was a failed stand-up comedian, never learned his name, but he was a failed stand-up comedian who was losing everything, got involved in a robbery with the Red Hood gang. And what the Red Hood gang would do is they would actually put a patsy under the Red Hood. He was the leader of the gang, as far as anyone was concerned, but he was always just someone who was just put under there to draw attention away. The Joker was that person. Batman comes along, he falls into the vat. Chemicals, becomes the Joker. So that was an origin story as well, although as the Joker himself said in that book, he's not 100% sure if that's actually accurate. If he's going to have a history, he prefers it to be multiple choice. That's what he said. So to say he works better without an origin story, the Joker works well with both. With or without an origin story. And Joaquin Phoenix is going to wow everyone. People were saying that it was going to be impossible to follow in the footsteps of Mark Hamill or Jack Nicholson. Heath Ledger blew everyone away with his turn. Jared Leto was left in the unfortunate position of trying to follow up on all three, including a posthumous Heath Ledger. His Joker was completely different, but still worked. It wasn't the traditional Joker, which threw a lot of people off, but if you watch it, it works. This is going to be another version of the Joker, and it will work. Joker, for me, is going to be the dark horse. It's going to be the Deadpool, come out of nowhere and make all the money movie. I hope that it does well, critically and commercially, and I hope, based on just what we've seen just now, Joaquin Phoenix gets another run at it. A sequel to the origin story standing alone from DCU. And really, that's all we've got to say about that. That's all the main ones we've got. Why don't you just run through them for us, Josh? Run through them with the dates.
You have Captain Marvel on the 8th of March, Shazam on the 5th of April, Hellboy on the 12th of April, Avengers Endgame on the 26th of April, XMen Dark Phoenix on the 7th of June, just a week after, Men in Black on the 14th of June. Then going into July, we have SpiderMan Far From Home on the 5th. Then August the 2nd, we have New Mutants, and then the 4th of October is Joker.
Yep. So that's the main movies that we've touched upon now. There are some honourable mentions. So Godzilla King of Monsters is out on the 31st of May. The trailer for that looks good. John Wick 3, Parabellum, the 17th of May, 2019. Now you know all about John Wick from Fortnite, but you've never seen any of the movies. They're fantastic.
I've seen a lot of clips.
Yeah, you've seen clips and memes.
I've probably seen enough clips to have watched the whole movie.
Yeah. Interestingly as well, there's another Terminator movie coming out on the 1st of November. And what's interesting about this, Arnie's in it again, but it's a direct sequel to Terminator 2. So Terminator 1 and Terminator 2 remain canon. Terminator 3, Terminator Salvation, and Terminator Genesis are an alternate timeline now, so while they exist, they don't. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do here. There's literally nothing else known about the movie other than Sarah Connor's back, and Arnold appears to be playing a human. So it's interesting if he's going to be playing a human and a Terminator. And rounding out the year, possibly the movie to challenge Avengers 4 financially at least, Star Wars Episode 9. Doesn't have a subtitle yet.
No, but I believe between 7, 8 and 9 it is making a sentence.
Yeah. The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi is a Sith. Episode 9's coming out. I personally, and I know you did as well, you loved Episode 7 and 8.
Yeah.
You loved Rogue One. You loved Solo. Some people hated them. Some of the hate online is just ridiculous, but we're not going to get into that. We are looking forward to Star Wars Episode 9. However, with all that being said, just to round this out, you can only watch one of them. Of all these movies...
Endgame.
Okay. Which one would it be, Joshua?
I think Avengers Endgame. I mean, I knew where you were going with the question.
Yeah,
It just has to be.
Yeah, I think for me, Avengers Endgame is if I could only see one of them this year, it would be Avengers Endgame. So I think Avengers Endgame is the one that's going to steal the year. Yeah. Obviously, New Mutants is the one that we're least excited about, but I'm hopefully it pulls through. But H-Bomb and J-Rock, bit of everything. Avengers Endgame is our pick for movie of the year in relation to the comic book genre. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for taking the time to view this video, go through this list with us. Like, share the video, place your comments down below on what you think is going to be the top movie of the list here. What are you not looking forward to? Did we miss anything? Let us know in the comments below. Look out for competitions in future videos. Congratulations again to Becky Roberts for winning this one. We will see you again soon, although next week I am flying solo. Join me for that. But for now, goodbye.